Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to a beautiful and quiet day in Chiang Mai. So today I want to talk about the subject of safety. Do I feel safe in Chiang Mai? And I'm going to get into a little controversy because I'm going to talk about why I gave up my guns to come to a country that is next to impossible to even get a gun. Here we go. You know, when I was going to do this video, I was going to go and I was going to pull all these stats about the violent crime index. I was going to talk about Chaing Mai compared to cities such as Sydney, Australia, or London, or New York, Chicago. But then I wanted to bring it close to me and make it a little personal, and how I look at Chiang Mai as far as safety goes, and specifically where I'm at in Dorset Ket, which is about 20 kilometers east of the old city. Now, if I take you back about, I don't know, 1991, I wasn't a cop at the time. I was a certified nursing assistant, and I worked the 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. shift. And when I came home to a very bad area in Orlando, Florida. Now, people think of Orlando, they think of Disney. But let me tell you, Orlando is not all Disney. I lived in an area that was called Mercy Drive, and we referred to it as Lord Have Mercy Drive, because the apartment complex that I lived at, it was full of drug dealers. When I got home, to get up the stairs, I had to walk past a bunch of people who were smoking and selling dope. There was bars on the window, and about every night you'd hear gunfire. You'll hear the police, you hear ambulance responding to our apartment complex. And so in my very early 20s, I grew up around that kind of violence. Fast forward, I don't know, about a decade or so, and I'm working for the police. And of course, I've seen my share of violence. I've seen what the underbelly of humanity has to offer. And so I understand violence. And with that said, when I started doing my research, I wanted to make sure that I moved to a country where that wouldn't be the biggest of concerns. And so initially, it was going to be Ecuador where I moved. But as many of you probably know, I don't know, 22, 23, Ecuador started having problems with violence. They passed some kind of statute where they allowed their citizens to have guns, but non-citizens could not have guns. And just my spider senses went off that would not be the place for us, at least for the time being. And so we thought about Chiang Mai. I had never been here before. So I reached out to a lot of people on Facebook who had been here. A few of the guys said they would interview with me. I asked a bunch of questions about the safety, and then we moved here. So what makes Chiang Mai safe to me? Well, first of all, I want to say it's a feeling. And what I mean by that is, I'll give you an example. When we first flew to Southeast Asia, we landed in Saigon, and we spent a week in Saigon, and then we went down to Da Nang, to the beach area. And about 3 days into Da Nang, my wife said to me, she says, "You know what you're doing, right?" And what do you mean, what am I doing? She said, "You're sitting with your back to a door." And she said, "All the years I've known you, you had never sat with your back to the door." And she's right, because I've seen a lot in my career where I would never sit with my back to the door. But I don't know if it was something about this region that I had landed in that I wasn't as hyper vigilant as I was before. But is not to say that I'm not careful. So when we came to Chiang Mai and we came to Dorset, there is a different vibe here. And what I mean by that is, I did not feel the tension, from people that I felt in the States. In a lot of cases, I think people were looking for a reason to be angry. And I didn't get that here. I didn't get that people were on the edge all the time. And I think it's mostly a cultural thing. I think it's the way they approach life that makes it different. And when I talk to people in our coffee group that we meet every Sunday, some of these folks have been here 20, 30 plus years. And we're in Mu 9 in Dorset. And when I talk to them about, tell me the history of violence that you remember in this area. And a lot of people can't remember any. One of my friends told me about an incident up by the dam that I did a video on the dam area, where it might have been a decade ago, where there was a drug deal that went bad and someone was shot. But, law enforcement took care of that kind of stuff didn't happen in that area anymore. But since I've been here, we talk about a vibe. I don't hear the police cars going through our village, those kind of things. I don't see that kind of stuff. And speaking of safety, in rainy season, you're gonna possibly lose power here in the area that I live. And there are times where it gets so warm that I would open the door. The only thing that separates is a screen to keep out the mosquitoes. And I would fall asleep in the recliner and feel safe doing that. And as I talk to people, it's not a violent area. It's not something that they worry about all the time. And I get that same kind of feeling. I'm still paying attention because it's in my blood to pay attention to what's going on around me. But like I said, I haven't experienced anything, any kind of confrontation, any kind of violence. Now, there are people that probably live in Chaing Mai or the Dorset area that may say, Fred, I've had road race incidents and I've had this and I've had that, but I've had none of that. I've had nobody shoot me the bird out the window or yell or scream. If someone hits their horn, it's probably letting you know that they're on the left or right side of you. And so it's a good feeling where, if you were to take a deep dig into the reports, you'll probably see that, specifically in this area, Chiang Mai in general, there's not a lot of violent crimes. Now, when I talk to people in the know, the violent crimes that usually occur is usually either domestic in nature or it's some kind of land dispute that can get violent. And so that kind of stuff does happen. Now, you want to talk about the biggest barometer for me to measure how safe I feel here in Chiang Mai is my wife. Now, if I can send her out, to go hang with friends, or she's going to go stay at La Bonita resort with some friends overnight, when she walks out that door and I'm not worried, that's the kind of safety that I feel living here, And it's not just me. Like I said, other people that I talk to that have lived here for years and decades, they say the same thing. They leave their doors open, friends come by all the time, they stop by. And I don't think it's a false sense of security because, like I said before, I have this spider sense. I can tell when something's wrong. And I kind of follow that gut feeling when that happens. But going back to the States, it had gotten to the point where, I stopped going to movie theaters. I stopped going to events that there were going to be crowds, because I know that there are people, in the United States, I'm sure other countries as well, maybe here in Thailand, but I know there are people in the States that have mental health issues, that have, rage that they want to take out. And, to me, if I could not go to an event and enjoy it, to me, there was no reason to go. And that kind of leads me to the gun part. Now, you know, carrying a gun for 25 years, once you retire, you know, you're given your duty weapon. And I was given my duty weapon, and I was proud to carry that weapon. I do believe in the Second Amendment. If you're an American and you qualify to carry a gun, to own a gun, then you should be able to. And full transparency, you know, I carried a gun everywhere I went. If I went to the grocery store, if I went to a movie, wherever I went, I carried a gun. Because like I said before, I'd seen the worst that humanity has to offer, and I was not going to be caught off guard. Now, I was also that person that had a gun in every room at my house, because I've seen situations where people have been ambushed, and that was not going to be me. That was my thought process. So when I made a decision, when I did some homework on Chiang Mai, Thailand specifically, can I bring my gun over here? The answer is pretty much no. Now, can you own a gun here? It's very convoluted, but what I would do is I would put a link to an article, a very good article about gun ownership here. There's a lot of hoops to jump through if you're able to make it happen. But when it comes to gun ownership, I had to make a decision. Did I want to live in a country where I'm allowed to have my gun and possibly need it? Or do I make a decision to move to a country where I couldn't own a gun and there was a less likely chance that I would need it? And so when I made that decision that I'm going to move here and I won't be able to have my guns with me, you know, I thought about it for a while, but once I got on that plane and once I landed here, I don't miss it. And I'll tell you why I don't miss it. Because I was proud to carry that gun. I was proud to protect the citizens where I worked at. But let me tell you something about having a gun. It can be a double-edged sword, you know. It's good to be prepared for whatever happens, to be in a position to protect yourself. But what I will say is, this is just my opinion. Justified or not, from what I've seen with people that I work with, when you do have to take a life, I think it can take a part of you, even when it's justified. So the longer you carry the gun with you, my opinion again, the longer I carried a gun on duty, the heavier it became. And what I mean by that is there's a lot of responsibility that comes with it. You know, you can find yourself in a position where you may have to use it, and if I did, I would use it. You know, if I had a justified reason to use it, I would. But let me tell you the pressure that comes off of you when you don't have that kind of responsibility to use it. I've never been in a position since I've been over here where I had to defend myself verbally or physically. I haven't had a confrontation. I'm going on a year. I haven't had a confrontation over here with anybody. And I don't think it's because I'm a big guy. Like I said before, I really just think it's the way people receive people, the way people receive, you know, what you tell them. I don't think people are easily offended. And then, of course, you throw in the Buddhist culture. I think that makes all the difference. So in the end, I just want to do a short video on the safety of Chiang Mai. And the last story I want to tell you, I almost forgot this. My friend Connie, and my friend Connie is in her 70s, and she's very healthy. She walks around the village all the time. And I remember when I first got here, I met her at coffee. And, you know, her and me and my wife, we got along real well. We became close friends. And I would see her walk, and it was getting dark. I'm like, you know, what are you doing walking? Let me give you a ride. I had got my car, and I said, let me give you a ride. You know, just, no, I'm just walking. And I couldn't believe that it was getting dark out there, and she was going to walk. And I wish I could have got on camera to talk, but she didn't want to get on camera. But she would tell you all the years she's been here, and she's lived in Indonesia and other places as well, originally from Colorado. But she would tell you she has never lived anywhere where she's felt safer. And so if that is on your list of why you want to come to Chiang Mai, you know, then I would say it's a very safe place. And with that said though, if just like any place else, if you get caught up in the wrong people, if you get caught up with drug dealers, if you get caught up with gambling, those kind of things, then you know you're going to draw those kind of people to you. But I think if you come here, you mind your business, you make friends, you build community, you can be very successful here as far as an expat. So that's all I have. If you enjoyed this video, please hit a like, subscribe if you have not. If you feel so inclined to buy me a coffee, just not decaf, there's a link in the description. As always, thank you for being here. I love you, and I will see you in the next one. Let me show you the mountain here before I let you go. I wanted to show you that. That's where I'm at right now. These are the views that I get out here. All right, folks, you go enjoy your day, and I will see you next time.